So let's go back to the request object we logged here. Now, important just to keep that in mind, this request object is the object Node.js generated for us with all the data of the incoming request when we visited localhost 3000, which we in turn can do because we listen to requests on that port. So this is the request object. If we have a look at it, we see it's a very complex object. There's lots of data in it. It's not just data. These are also partly functions we can call and so on. So this is quite a complex object. But we also see that, for example, we have some headers here. Headers, as I mentioned earlier, are metadata, meta information added to a request and also to responses, by the way. And there we see, for example, the host this was sent to, the request was sent to. We saw some headers attached by the browser, like, for example, how the response data should be cached and stuff like that, which browser we used for that request, which kind of response we would accept, that we accept some HTML, XML, and so on, that we would accept encoded responses, so where the response is actually minified to, well, save bandwidth, and so on. There also was a cookie attached even. We haven't learned about cookies yet. We will so later, but this was attached. It's some Google Analytics cookie. We saw which HTTP version was used, and so on. So there's a lot we can gain from that request, but a bit too much. Now, there are only a few important fields you typically need. The first important or interesting field is the URL. Let's output that, and let's also output, you can output more than one value by separating them with commas, request method, and also request headers here. Let's output these three values and restart the server with Node app.js. So now it's again listening, and let's reload that page on localhost 3000. If we do so, now we see the output has changed. We still have all the header stuff because we're outputting request headers. But prior to that, we output the method, which you see here. It's get. And you see the URL. And the URL is just a slash here because the URL is basically everything after our host. And we just have localhost, well, nothing. And that basically translates to localhost slash. If I had slash test, now we see another output. And there we see slash test being logged here. And then also get for the method and our headers. So this is basically how we can access some information about our request. Now, one crucial thing that is missing here is the response. So let's have a look at sending responses in the next lecture.